Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Cuckoo, and this is a new horror film from writer-director Tillman Singer. And this film focuses on a young woman portrayed by Hunter Schafer of Euphoria fame, Gretchen, who moves with her father, her stepmother, and her half-sister to this remote compound run by strange German scientist played by Dan Stevens. And the title of the film has a lot to do with the creatures that are bumping around at night that haunt this particular compound and where this goes. Now, this film certainly has a lot of great atmosphere. It has an eerie and haunting just air about it. And I think Singer does a great job of building that tension, building that suspense. There's some interesting and dynamic directorial decisions for some scares, especially particularly the one that they give away in the trailer with Schaefer's Gretchen riding on a bike and you see a shadow revealed on the ground, which is how we know we're in a chase. And different kinds of ways that it delivers scares in that way. There's some good tension building from Singer's direction. Now, from the writing of the film is where a lot of this kind of gets a little spotty. There's a good emotional core at the center. Gretchen is going through a lot, processing being away, what happened with her mother, and the emotional baggage that comes along with that. And also the tension that's developing between her and her father because her father is spending so much time with her stepmother and focusing on her half-sister, and that abandonment and what that does to drive Gretchen to make some of the brash decisions that she does. But throughout this film, you have that emotional core. You also have an interesting concept. These creatures, for sure, are unnerving and interesting in what they are out to do. Now, how we are finally informed of this big grand mystery is clunky because it's all just exposition dumps, but it is in a hammy German accent from Dan Stevens, so like that works. Some of the elements of these creatures, like how they have this reverberating call that is represented on screen in a very interesting and unique visual way that I think is one of the more interesting elements of the film. Now, I feel like this mystery, this story, and the emotional heft of the film gets bogged down by a bunch of other plot threads. Like, there's a random half-baked romance for Gretchen at one point. There's this cop played by Jan Blufart, who he's mysterious, he's caught up in this, he has his motivations. Gretchen has her motivations. Steven's character has his own motivations, but then he's not that much of an interesting character on his own. Stevens is having fun and hammy, but mostly it's just exposition that he's dumping, as well as this faux politeness that he has about him. But then there's other conflicts between him and some of his people, and you're just like, all this stuff just keeps bogging down what really matters. And at the core of this film, it's the relationship between Gretchen and her half-sister Alma, played by Mila Liu. And when we finally get to those moments, there's some real emotional impact. But there's just too many things bogging it down, and unfortunately the climax, where this is all crashing together, has loose threads. It has open-ended elements that don't feel like they're satisfied, and the film kind of reverts back to a more conventional way of dealing with the climactic elements of this film, and it feels a lot less fresh and interesting than where a lot of this film was taking us. Now, the performance as Schaefer is fantastic. The emotional range that Schaefer has to present in this role, from the physicality, because she goes through the ringer, she gets mangled multiple times, and how she has to keep shifting how she walks or how she holds herself, acting through the makeup of these horrible bruises and swelling and all of this stuff, as well as some really emotional moments. Leo does a really fine job carrying big weight for how significant her character turns out to be to the story. Stevens, like I said, doesn't have a whole lot to work with except for exposition, but he certainly is hamming it up. But Bluthart and Martin Sokas and Jessica Henwick feel like they're all kind of wasted and don't really have a whole lot extra to add into this whole scenario. There's a lot of other characters just thrown in there too. It's too muddled for this film to really reach the heights of its potential, but it still nets on the positive end, and it's still an interesting and intense horror film with a great concept, strong direction, and a great central performance that gets it across the finish line. But those are my thoughts on Cuckoo. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.